All right, there we go. Wait, I have to check the chat. Mushroom back on. Yes. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We're here for Circle and Racial Healing Circle in specific, but I have to back up and talk first about Circle. And Laurel, thank you so much. She spent a little lunchtime with me prepping and being my hype man. And so she says, just tell your story, Fernell, a little bit. And so I have to back up and start there. And just to say that Circle isn't a thing or a place. It's a practice that helped me show up as my authentic self everywhere I go. And I got that practice in my first experiences with people. I was born in South Dakota on reservation. My parents were educators on a reservation, small school. And we stayed there until my sisters and brothers, my older siblings, were going to have to go to those boarding schools that we hear about. And so in this smaller school, my parents were educators. My dad was a principal and my mom was a teacher. And I didn't know that. I thought they were the bus driver, because we'd go and do a walking train bus and pick everybody up in the circle. And then I thought they were the cooks, because when we all cooked at school and then ate. And then they were the teachers. We all went together and we learned everything. And then we did all that. So they were the coaches. And then we ended with a powwow. And then we did the bus ride home. So I just knew that this is how life goes. That was my first experience. And in that circle, or in that way, I believed that I was just as important as anyone else, no matter how age. I was validated. I was visible. I was valued, and my value had just as much value as the land, the trees, the rivers, the rocks. So I have great respect for my outdoors, and I kind of believe that I am a tree, and that wisdom and knowledge and roots is everywhere with us all the time. And so here in my little 6-year-old mind, that's the world to me. And I believe that I could do anything, be anywhere. I belonged everywhere. Everywhere belonged to me. I wasn't excluded or attacked. Yes, I saw things and realized, as I got older, this is a mess here. But it really became stark when we moved from South Dakota to Washington. And my first experience in school was with white teachers who were upset that I was learning. And I learned, and I knew more than what I was supposed to. And so all of my siblings experienced this in whatever grade they are. They challenged that we shouldn't be in the grade that we are. They tried to, move us back. All I remember is my teacher balling up my papers and throwing them away because it made the other kids, the white kids, feel bad. And so she wouldn't put my papers up, and I got accused of cheating all the time. So I'm like, oh, this isn't education. This isn't for me. There's nothing here for me, because I already knew what was most important. And what education tries to teach out of us is our humanity. It tries to teach that all this other stuff is more important than we are and valued. And I knew that wasn't true. And so I just wouldn't play white supremacy. Sorry, I don't want to play. And all my adults have been mad at me all my life because I won't get in the box. I won't unbelieve what I know to be true about myself and my fellow human beings. And so I show up that way, believing that about myself, and how I show up in the world is that. And I never knew really that I was showing up or doing anything special or anything. And it wasn't until even just like 3 years ago, my little brother, who's 50, I'm 60, he explained to me what happens when I show up in a room. And I would never know that because I'm not in the room, right? But he, as my little brother, had to follow me everywhere, be everywhere. He had to tag along, big sister, drug everywhere in my life, so he can tell my life better than I can. And he says, Fernell, when you get in the room, everything changes. I'm like, what do you mean? How? What? He says, everybody, the way you show up makes everybody show up with that higher vibration or believing about themselves. They don't question, they don't argue, they don't stop and poke at, like, all the things that were going on in the room before you got there just melt away. And I didn't know that. I'm like, well, that's a gift, I guess. I guess I'll go with that. But it's only way I can describe it on me is that, again, I just wouldn't play. I don't want to play that ugly game. And so I didn't want to be a teacher. My parents are educators, my aunts, my uncles, everybody I know. I'm from a long legacy of that. I'm like, the way resistance and that's, Black people reading, that's a defiant right there, So here I've got educators, all of my family, and I tried not to be. I was like, I see all that already. I already knew that. And, but I am one. And so wherever I go, that's what happens. And what I do is I just practice what I have known all my life, that everybody's valued, visible, and validated in how they show up. And Laurel and I were talking, and I think the youth that show up in our space have said this to me, is like, Fernell, you just believe we can do anything. How do you do that? And I just read her this card, which says, create can-do kids. Don't impose your thoughts and lack of limitation on your children. When you think your children can, they will think they can. When you erase your own doubt in your child's ability, your child will face each challenge and with confidence and a can-do attitude. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, duh. I thought everybody knew this, but they don't. And that's why when I'm with kids, they see that, because, like, of course you can. Why wouldn't you? You do that all the time. I've seen you do it a million times. Why would you be afraid? That's the imposter syndrome. So I'm just saying that about circle is not just that we're going to sit our chairs in a circle or put our names in the chat or take turns. It's a practice of believing that you belong anywhere and everywhere belongs to you. And if you don't know the truth about yourself, that's what you're there in circle to help you lift out and bring out, is the truth about who you are and then how you can show up. And so transitioning in all the white space that I'm in Washington State, North Everett, my school district. I'm one of, after I retire this year, if I retire, I'll be the last Black educator in front of students on a daily basis in the district. I can't name another teacher right now. There's administrators, like 4 men and 4 women, but they're not in the classroom. They're at the district office anyway. So in all this white space, I needed a place to talk about this truth of how I walk through the world, that duality that kids face of knowing that I have a different experience than everybody else, but nobody will talk about it, acknowledge it, or say anything, is spirit murdering to them. It's crushing to them, that not acknowledging the duality. And I've always needed a place to talk about that since I was 7. I wrote a book about it when I was 7. So I just create it wherever I go. And now that I've found online spaces, that's real easy to do, because I can make a link. I made some Eventbrite links. And when I open them up, everybody around the world shows up who wants to talk about race, racism, white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and all the systems that are oppressive. And not that just to have a bashing session about anything. It's a place where we can connect dots, learn from each other, understand our experiences, tell the stories. So that helps the understanding. And when you leave the circle, that's how you show up differently in the world. That's the transformation that happens. So I kind of want to talk about that today and toss that around the circle while we practice the circle. And I'll show you just real quick a couple of things that I know I'm talking fast because I only have an hour, but okay. That's my Happy New Year. Have you seen this yet? Stare at it and see how many how many words can pop out you. We don't have to do it right now, but I just love to give you a glimpse. First 3 words that pop out, write them down. That's something to help you guide you this year. I'll give you a chance to do that while I take a drink of water here. Okay. And later on, or tomorrow, the youth, root of our youth, are going to be holding their circle or holding their space to talk about what brought them to circle, what keeps them coming back, and what they how they use it or what they get from that. So if you want to hear more of that, come tomorrow and they'll get to share that with you. Okay, everybody got their words? Okay. All right, jumping forward. I'll come back later if you need it, but okay. This is one of my slide decks that I use for Racial Healing Circle. And so I am just going to quickly show a couple of ways that I bring everybody into the room quickly. And just acknowledging that we're each other's gift. We're each other's medicine. We can't heal without each other. If we could do this all by ourselves, we'd be so good right now, but we can't. So stop acting like we don't need each other. And so I have you pick one of these that might be resonating with you today. And I always have, we have everything we need in the room already. We're all, everything we need to make change is already here, is how I resonate a lot of times. So, and I'm just going to quick, and when it's your turn around the circle, you can speak to any of all of this. We always do the gratitude and grounding in practices. Circle is about trauma-informed care and engaging in healing. It draws from African and Indigenous peoples, which is part of their tribal roots and source of wisdom and inspiration. And again, I didn't know that when I was in it. I was raised in it and didn't know that. I just thought that's the way the world. Well, great. This is great. But I've learned more about it since. So it's helping me put the dots together and where that actually comes from and all. And so I use a speaking protocol. I'll put our names in the chat and go around the circle. And that allows that full expression of emotions and deeper listening and thoughtful reflection, because I thought when you talk to people, you're supposed to actually listen. So that's where I learned that, is the listening. And that talking piece helps create space for those who have a difficult time to speak in a group, and it honors whether it's spoken or silent. And I love the silent part. Just to hold the talking piece and breathe in silence helps you show that you're important. Even just your presence to be there, even if you don't have anything that you want to say right now, just being there and belonging there is speaking volumes, because we speak volumes when we exclude people. We can do that with our silence too. And so we acknowledge the unconscious bias that lives in us in a racial healing circle. It's an opportunity to engage and open our hearts, affirm the humanity of all people, and open a brave space and truth spelling. I learned that term from Aaron and Dr. Jan about brave space. It's not safe. It's not safe for everybody. And I can't say what's safe for you, just like you can't say what's safe for me. Safe is one of those colonized words to make us think that anyway, I don't have time to get into that. But when I show up more full and authentic and tell the truth, that allows others to show up fully and with their truth as well. And so we call that brave space. And then people who have historically been oppressed and closest to the harm speak first in my racial healing circles. I get that from Kim Creighton. The darkest faces who are closest to the harm are speaking first. And those who have historically been on the oppressors and furthest from the harm are listening first. And then again, that equitable space come together around a topic experience or for understanding, liberation, and healing for us all. So it's a linked elbow experience. I'm not there to be rescued. I'm not there to lead you or push. It's come alongside as a circle keeper. I'm not the facilitator over everybody. I'm in the circle participating with you in and holding space with you. So we like to call it our emergency room. And then we always stay engaged, speak our truth, know that our discomfort is for our growth, and the non-closure is about patience and grace for yourself while you're learning, as well as each other. And if you do that from the heart and with respect, that's how that brave space happens. People ask me all the time, don't you have people coming in and trying to argue and fight? And I'm like, no, because this is how we're showing up. And if you really want that healing, you show up like that. People who don't want healing, they pass on my space because I don't want to heal. So anyway, all of that with courage. Oops, my thing's in the way. There we go. Helps us stay present and tolerate all the discomfort, vulnerability, and pain That can be psychological, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual without denying it and avoiding it and pulling away. And isn't that what we do? All that fragility and, oh, if I might make a mistake, well, then we stay stuck right where we are, which, yay, white supremacy is winning again. So again, I don't want to play that. I want to show up, and and courage is a practice as well. You can't just have it all of a sudden one day. It's practiced by being honest and with ourselves and what's happening, and taking responsibility for vulnerabilities and mistakes that you do make, and connect truthfully. So all of that is part of the container on how we show up in Circle. And then we take some time to go around and talk about and just take up space to share about who we are, how we are showing up, what our intentions are of the day, or what questions need to be brought to Circle, or what are you holding, all of that. And so that's taking time. I do the same acknowledgments. Those of you who are here early in the conference, the youth have helped guide this, and doing land acknowledgments with labor and ancestors and youth the same way. And then we have lots of just different topics of learning. I talk about the 4 eyes of oppression, the power dynamics, and whatever topic comes to Circle. So it really depends on who shows up, and then how they're showing up, and what they need is held by all of us. So I don't ever come with oh, here, we're just going to talk about this. It's what's happening with the people who show up. It might be what's happening in the world. It's centered around a place where we can actually have a real conversation about it, instead of listening to the news bites and social medias and the scrolls and whatever he said, she said. All of that is that's not what Circle. That's not what we hold. We hold the people, and we practice our humanity, because we really don't have anywhere that we are practicing our humanity, practicing our courage, practicing our brave, showing up brave. Where are you practicing that? Because we're always in defense and survival, or whatever it is. And I just, I have to think about like the opposite of that, because I've always had that place to practice my humanity. I learned that first. And so I wish people, I think, why can't we learn that first? Why can't school be about that? So then we all can show up in our fullness, and that would change things dramatically. So in this short time, I just wanted to share what and how Circle happens and how that shows up. And I want to open it up. I know we don't probably have, what time is it? What time do we start? I don't know if we have time to go around, but I'm going to pick on some people and voluntold them to share about what I'm not even speaking correctly, but what happens, or how do you hold that space, and what keeps you coming back? Kind of the same question I'm asking our youth is, what keeps you coming, or how did you land in that, or how did you begin that, and what happens after people leave your space? That's the thing. What my little brother was talking about is, do you know what happens after you're out of the room, or you're not with them, or before you get there? So anything along that Circle process. And I know Dr. Jen has some things to say, because they hold space like this all the time. So I'll just pass it around, and I'll start with you. Hello. Oh, and hi, Erin, just popping in.
Hi. Well, I want to give a lot of space for other people to talk, so I'm not going to say a whole lot. But I will say that I really like being in Circle with Fernell. I think when I first came to Circle, I thought, how is this gonna move us all? And then it's some of the most incredible work I've witnessed, just being with people and watching the transformations that happen when we sit and listen to one another. So I've been really moved in the time that I've been able to work with you and be next to you in Circle. So thank you for bringing that into my life, Fernell. Thanks for bringing you into my life.
Can't be more happy with that from you as well. Thank you.
So I'm going to pass back to you, and so you can voluntold somebody.
or questions. I'm not trying to. Anyway, circle is what we make of it. So I'm going to ask anybody, Laurel, Maureen, anybody who's been in circle with me on a regular or whatnot, you want to speak first, and that'll bring some more questions up. And I know, Aaron, you and Jen got to go too. So if anything you want to add, you hold lots of spaces in circle. Go ahead and share if you'd like to.
Yeah, just that I think what I have loved about circle, and I wouldn't have known to call it circle until you. So, but I think it's what you and I naturally did as teachers, is just make sure we're creating spaces that are humanizing for students.
Yeah.
And I love what you were talking about earlier with the quiet spaces, because I think about a certain student of ours in the class 2.5 years ago who didn't talk at all. And a lot of teachers would have said, you're not talking out of the class. Like, why are you here? Get on camera. But because we just created space for the student, they're not in our class now, but they stayed in the class for 1.5 years and still pop back in to just say hi every once in a while. And so I think what I love about spaces that you created, I think it's why you and I bonded so much, is just everybody has their own brilliance, and some of it is talking and others is drawing and some is typing in the chat, and some people are neurodivergent and need a while to think about their answer, and others have answers for days. And how do we help create space where everybody can show up as their best self and see them? I think we're both really good at seeing our students, whether they're 5 or 55. I think we're really good at seeing, and the circle allows us to see and acknowledge them too. And last thing I'll say is, you are the facility, you're part of the group. I think I already said this in my keynote, but we both don't ask people to do what we're not willing to do ourselves. And so just that modeling part, I think, is really important. Now be quiet now.
Oh, never be quiet, Aaron, never. But thank you. Yes, that's exactly it. You're a black light, like showing what's in plain sight. I never could fathom, like, how can you not see the picture? And that's so clear. And, but it takes years of us to build up those blinders, and then, we only want to see. Yeah. So that was you and me. I don't know how to play. I don't know how to play white supremacy very well. I know all the rules, but I don't want to play. Thank you, Laurel. How about you?
I want to ask like a little double check on the question. So are we talking about like what we bring to circle, or what circle brings us, or?
You get to talk about anything you want. I mean, you've been with me long enough to say what you need to say.
Yeah, well, I guess I will say what I already told Fernell when we were talking before this circle, but I really feel like, I don't know, it was destined. I was always going to meet Fernell. I think the time changed a little bit based on choices that I made, but our relationship feels very inevitable. And like, I feel like there's moments in your life or people or places, things that are just like going to happen anyways. And you can do whatever you want between those, but some things are just, it is the way it's going to be. And I really appreciated being in circle with Fernell, because it's just really wonderful and has opened me up so much to just being on my tangents that I used to keep very private. And I was like, this is nothing. It's just my own side research, my side quest project that I'll do real life. And for you to see me like, no, like that is your real life. And you can just continue to keep visioning and imagining and unraveling and like, I don't know, just digging and digging and digging deeper and deeper into what it means to even be on this planet at this time. So yeah, I just really appreciate you and everything Circle brings.
Thank you. Yeah. Be you all day long, because we need you. And I wish I could type fast enough. Aaron, I might make you put everybody's name in the chat so then we don't have to do this. Just pass it on to anybody you'd like to. So Laura, who do you pass to?
I'll pass to Chris.
mute myself. Can everyone hear me? Hi, Chris, they, them. I don't think I've ever been to Circle before. Officially, I think that I've likely been in Circle-like scenarios before, but just never got a word for it. And I'm trying to think what is resonating or coming up for me right now that needs to be spoken. I'm trying to think what are the ancestors telling me to speak into the universe. I think that I was just talking to my colleagues about like how much people power there is that people are not taking advantage of. So I've noticed recently this tendency for people to take a step back from social engagements or sort of act a little flaky when it comes to following through, or if one of our colleagues is being let go from a job or whatnot, people are not stepping in or checking in with that person. And that is really hard to see. So for context, I came from DC, spent 7 years in Washington, DC, and I've been in Seattle it'll be 2 years in July. And I came out here for the DEI role, which is what I'm currently in. And I've been sort of stunned by the lack of interest in engaging in socializing amongst everyone, but in particular, like African American people, right? Like going somewhere and not seeing the nod or not seeing people connect with me. I'm like, what's going on? I know you see me. I know I see you. So what's going on here? And so I've been, and I'm the chair of the Seattle Black Educator Socials, which is my attempt to try to get Black educators in independent schools together to sort of like the way we say it is, it's a space for us, with us, just like to be. And so that hasn't been shooting off as much as I would like it to be. And yeah, I just wanted to just, lift that up and state that it's hard being in a space where relationships aren't valued in the same way, right? And so I have a very lovely spouse who's a white man, and I have a lot of good friends, but I'm missing my folks and my people right now. Right? It's hard being in Seattle and not getting my daily dose of vitamin B, right? Of blackness. I need more blackness, and I'm not getting a lot of it. And I'm pretty Black, so I can give to myself, but I want to go someplace and like just see people and resonate and know that you and I are together. We're in, right? I miss going to places and not having to speak to know that I'm going to be understood.
Yes.
I feel like all the time I am constantly thinking about how I can speak or thinking about how I can show up, present myself so that I am understood. Because oftentimes I'll speak and it's like people are seeing that I'm speaking a different language and I'm not. And there's a disconnect there that I just wanted to surface.
Take a breath, everybody, after that. That's just Washington. There's only 9 Black people who live here, percentage wise. And I'm related to 6 of them. So it's really difficult to find community and to find those spaces, and which is why I started doing online spaces. And Aaron and I just dropped some links in the chat. The document I made is all the Equity Institute links, the Eventbrite links, I had a nicer one made, but it's kind of a sloppy little flyer, but just to find them all in one space. So you can go there and find all the ways to communicate. I even made a Black Male Brotherhood space on Thursday nights for my own son and friends and, men in the community, because like I look high and low, can't find any spaces. So, Naima has been finding my spaces and joining our Saturday Sisterhood group. Aaron and I make all kind of spaces anywhere we can. Oh, and Dr. Joy is coming next weekend. She's being inducted into the WOW Gallery. So if you haven't heard of this, Chris and everybody, Ooh, I'll type it in the chat as soon as I'm done talking. I can't do two at once. The Wow Gallery downtown and Market Mall. What's that mall where the theater is? And so her documentary is going to be shown from 1 to 3, and then she's inducted into the iconic Black women gallery by Hiawatha D and Veronica Very from 3 to 7. So that's like, oh, Black royalty is going to be in Seattle next weekend. So the 4th of February, and go to Wow Gallery and look at events, and you'll find that. And there's where everybody can engage, and some beautiful Blackness in Seattle. So thank you. All right, I'm going to pass to Maureen for you, Chris, because I love Maureen's transparency and learning. I'm going to give it to her.
Thank you. I had the privilege of the universe inviting me to join Fernell's circle, Racial Healing Circle. It's every Sunday afternoon. I'm in Minnesota, not in Seattle. We have people come from all over the world. And I had been looking for and hungry for something for a long time. I wrote down, Fernell, your work and my getting to be involved in your work quenches a thirst, just a deep thirst that I've had, and a deep longing as a white person who was so drenched and drowning in privilege that I didn't even know I was growing up in and then lived in. Fernell happens to have a course, which I hope you will put in the chat too, called How Did I Get Here? It's a self-study course, and she's designed it in 9 modules, 1 module a month. And for me, white supremacy is like a disease, and it's also like in the water and in the air and in the schools and in everywhere. And I have so many layers. It isn't just you can read 3 books and you're done. And this course that Fernell designed just lovingly removes layer after layer. And then she says things in the course like, well, do you know who Dr. Joy DeGruy is? And of course I didn't. And of course I fell in love with her and then got all excited. And Fernell, I get to share this with Fernell. I can come to the circle every other Sunday. And then my current one is Frances Cress Welsing, who I did not know any of these people. I don't have words. I want my white supremacy to be in remission as much as possible. That's how I put it. I think of it really as I need to do a practice every single day to keep it at bay. And coming into relationship with Fernell and the people in the circle has just been such a gift for me. And it does help me, but like you said, Fernell, when you leave, what happens? It helps me stay on the course of, when I see something, I say something. I don't just walk around in blindness. I'm having more courage to speak up. So I want to really mention this course because of all the things that I've studied, this is the course plus getting to be with Fernell on Sundays has been extremely helpful in starting to lift my white supremacy enough. Fernell, you could, as I pass it back to you, maybe you could mention your metaphor about the bridge. And once you go over the bridge, there's like I'm going to leave it. Hopefully Fernell is now going to tell us about the bridge.
Oh, Maureen, I love your transparency of learning. And I learned this too. Just these 3 circles. We listened and heard from Aaron this morning about your practices. And so I always think of what are you doing with your inner practice, yourself, your own unlearning and relearning. And that's what you're doing with the course in your pace and your timing and the layers. And thank you for letting me know that it's working. Great. And then in your immediate community, your family, your household, your classroom, um, your your sphere of influence and how you're showing up there. And it's not that I put any, checklist of what to do. It's how are you, because your transformation in here and in here, you're showing up differently and people are noticing. And the people who don't like it will surely tell you. But then the people who are resonating and noticing that start coming towards you. And once you know what you can't unknow it. You can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. And that's crossing the bridge. And once you cross that bridge, it's like, well, what would you go back there for? You don't want to. But you also have to realize that what you knew and loved on the other side of the bridge, you have to build in a new way or with new people. It's not that you can't have that comfort or security. Everybody has to have some survival skills. You can't just rip it away from people and then expect them to, change like that. That's not how change happens. And so you've got to have that space. That's what circle is. That's why you do the inner work and you come to a circle community. So then you can build those relationships, security, friendships, all those things that help support you in where you are across that bridge or as you're going across that bridge. Family, like Maureen, you've told me times like you don't even know how sometimes to be with your own family because of what you know now and what you've learned. And so you've got to create, some new family and change the dynamics across on that other side. So am I explaining that well enough? And then the last thing, your larger community is, out in the world, who do you interact with in a way that helps change our world in a way that is tangible. And the reason I created these racial healing circles online in this way is because I needed to know. Does anybody else know about all this racism going on? Do white folks, do you do anything about, because nothing is changing in my immediate world. My mom is 90. She's still afraid for me to show up in spaces and talk about what I'm talking about. Who's going with you for now? Are you going by yourself? Who's walking to your car after? Do people know what you're doing? Like, that's 90 years old of having to carry that burden of emotional burden and pain and trauma of all of that. I don't have energy for that. I don't know how to play that. I don't want to. And so I know that I'm changing things because I can't show up and go backwards. I can't go back across the bridge because of what I know and who I am. And so since I can't go backwards, I just keep creating new ones. No, but that's how I feel like I'm doing my larger community. And that's how come I can open a Zoom link and get people from the UK and Canada and everywhere that are right here with me in that very conversation and then transforming their world and coming back to share about it. That's the world I want. So I just want to play there. Okay. Passing on to, who'd like a turn? I don't know. Naima, go ahead. Or
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, my first introduction to just the term circle, the idea of it was within the past 2 years or what have you. And I really was interested in it because I was like, oh man, we need and just experiencing it and how freeing it was to be seen, be heard, have a space where I'm really listened to be understood versus listened to just to be answered or because I operate in a space where there's a lot of performativity, folks trying to prove how equitable they are, and it's all these I did my homework and research, I know my terms or what have you, and so sometimes breaking through that and get into true relationship building and transparency can be challenging. So I do like the idea of circles. I enter a space where I want to learn more about how to hold space. I know how humanizing it is to hold that space. There's a lot of tension, between specifically folks that are the furthest from educational justice in my school district, or mainly BIPOC folks. Specifically gonna call out Black folks. certain school admin are not necessarily like the most skilled and engaged in our community or what have you. So I find myself put in spaces where I'm having to mediate that. And I'm like, oh, I need to get more skills on how to hold space so that, you know, we can make space. And I love like Fernell's like the best model. Like I really appreciate meeting her and see how she holds space and see how she navigates those spaces of tension or what have you. And I'm just like, Fernell's goals for me. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I just enter in wanting to learn more about how to do it, how to be trained, how to do it in a skilled way, because I feel like our families need it. They deserve it. I certainly know with my daughter starting off in the same school district that I work for as a kindergartner, I'm already seeing like just ways that she needs to be acknowledged, seen, and the fact that she doesn't feel seen or heard already, like entering in the first year. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to hold some space for my baby. You know, we're gonna have to hopefully equip the educators to hold space for the babies in the classroom or what have you, so that she won't have to have this experience where she's like, I don't want to go to school, because that's her experience right now. So I'm really interested in learning how to just get more strategies on how to hold space, how to become skilled at it or what have you. So I'm entering in circles for a release of myself, but also to gain strategies on how to create that space when I see how much is needed in the educational spaces that I operate in. So,
yes, and I do that as well. And again, like Erin, I didn't know that circle as a term. I just knew that this is how I want to operate. And it wasn't until later that I met Dr. Pamela Taylor out of Seattle U, and got to kind of fill in the gaps and understand what I was doing. I'm like, oh, this is a circle, like that, but I didn't put the two together. So I do have some of that to share and offer. And again, it's just like when you come to the circles that, you know, Equity Institute and all of us are holding, that's how you begin healing and then be able to show up in circle. Because it's not just okay, you put everybody in the chairs in the circle and then you do that. It's who you are when you, how can you hold the space? Because we held that circle in the restaurant in the middle of this and that and everything at the table with kids and all. That was the best circle ever. It wasn't even in a traditional, you know, whatever you call it. I just, it's on the playground. It's everywhere I am. That's the circle. So it's you. So start showing up and practicing you in the circle. That's the best way to start. So, and I put the link in the chat for all of where we are everywhere. So, and I'll have some more information at the end too on that. So Jesse, I see you. Where'd you go? Get in there. You're leaning in. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just loving how much everyone else has appreciated you. My first meeting of you was as a colleague, and watching you do this with kids years ago. And you've been a mentor to me ever since. I think my biggest question is, we are in this system that is set up very, very, very slanted, you know, in ways of equity. And it seems like a hard hill to climb up and to scale. And so I don't want the easy way. I want little steps that an educator I could bring to my classroom, or I could bring to my team within my building and try things on. And I think those little nuggets are what I'm looking for.
And you know, the first thing I'm going to say is burn all your desks in your room. But
Yeah.
it's more difficult to do circle in the institution that says don't do any of this at all. Which is why when you have taught with me for years, you see that I don't follow any of those rules because I know it's wrong. So I don't worry about, am I going to be fired? Am I going to get in trouble? I don't even have those thoughts, because I don't want to see Black children cutting their hair off to try to fit into their white school. I don't want to see them scratching their skin off and talking about themselves in the way that I hear them talk about, because they're having the same experiences in kindergarten that I did when I was in kindergarten 40 years ago. So whatever the school district, I'm always not doing whatever they said because it's wrong. It's hurting our kids. And I will protect that at all costs. And being white educators taught the way that we were, even our Black educators, we were taught to do that whiteness in the hierarchy. And the circle collapses all of that. And I don't do lesson plans about anything. Those kids are the plan. I'm just the facilitator to make sure that their humanity is intact anytime they're in space with me. When we might be playing soccer while we do it, but our humanity's first. We might be doing whatever, but that's first. So that's what I would tell educators who are trapped in that space and you're in the district and, oh, they won't let you start a BSE. Well, sorry. I'm not going to let you kill kids. They're spirit murdered. I'm not going to let you do that. So what are you going to do to not do that? That's my lesson plan every minute. What are you doing to not kill kids' spirits? So yeah, we can talk all day about that, but okay, keep going. Thank you, Jesse. I know you're doing that. Anybody else want to have a question or a pop up? Go ahead. I see you, Joe. You're moving actually. So I thought your picture was still, but you're live. So, you circle with me a long time. You see me in like physical 300 people in a circle, huh?
Yeah, I phased out there for a minute on my internet. I've just been thinking about the kind of the full circle, because when we met, it was way, I don't know, 25 years ago.
Yep.
But I think the organization, you know, I was in, even though it was a circle organization, it probably wasn't at a place where it was open to allow us to see, you know, really who you are, what you can bring to the table. You know, you're out there doing the square dance but obviously there's more to you than leading a square dance. So for me, I just feel gratitude meeting you again all these years later, and becoming a part of this type of circle. So I feel gratitude that I've been in circles, but this is a bigger awareness circle, I guess, if that makes any sense. It's a bigger circle. And there's just something about, like when Chris mentioned the nod, I'm like, oh, I know that. I know what the nod is. So it's just something about knowing a different type of knowledge. So that's what I've been reflecting on. And I'm glad I made it to this class and Molly's class, because I've been wanting to learn more about things that I know are happening. I just haven't had the time to get there. So I will pass to Susanna, because I'm a big dog lover. My dog's behind me and you have 2 dogs there. So
I do. And, you know, out of respect for the circle, I think I'll go last. I'm here to listen. So thank you.
I see more dogs in the, thank you, Susanna. I see more dogs in the picture with Julia. You're able
Yeah,
to.
I just wanted to say thank you and gratitude for creating this space, and just, it's so much like of yourself that you give to create these spaces, these transformative spaces. And I mean, I think that one thing that really spoke to me at the very beginning was I actually started tearing up when I saw like that we are each other's medicine and each other's healing. And a lot of the time, like, social justice can be so super painful and isolating. And that just really spoke to me. And so thank you for holding this space. And I just wanted to say, like, as someone who I've participated in facilitation and dialogue trainings, but actually COVID interrupted it. So I never got to lead my own discussion on racial justice on my own topic, but I was part of the training. And so, man, that gives me so much. It's like a huge feat to do. And so I hope to keep practicing and do that myself someday, but thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Yes. People are jumping around. I'm losing them. Val. Hi there. How are you?
Hello. I saw Naima has her hand up.
Oh.
Would you like to say something first?
Yeah, I can wait. I had to ask Fernell whenever space is made for it. I just had to ask.
Okay, thank you. This is my first time in this circle, and so far it's really beautiful. I really appreciate what everyone has said, both about Fernell and what the circle has been able to bring for them. I'm very excited to hopefully participate in those circles, and I also really resonate with what I think Julia was just mentioning. Sometimes the social justice circles can feel very draining, and partaking in community care is sort of the things that keeps my spirits strong. I also really resonate with you now when you talked about tree wisdom. I have been feeling a lot of that lately, and I don't know if Laurel is still here, but also resonate a lot with the mushroom kinship, because I think so far at work I am now known as the mushroom girl, and I will not shy away from it. So I really, really appreciate that too. I think something that I have been feeling a lot lately is there's obviously so much going on in the world, particularly to my background. There are so many protests happening in Peru right now, which is where I'm from. And I had planned this trip to visit my grandma so that I could go with her to her hometown, which is in the Andes Highlands. And there are all these protests happening about, and my trip isn't supposed to be in 3 weeks, and it's not getting any better. And I feel sadness for myself, but then also sadness for everything that's happening, but also excitement for all the conversations that are happening at the same time. There's such nuance and intricacy to anything race related within Latin America because of the way that we were colonized. And there's all these conversations around mestizaje, and finally like calling out mestizaje as like a form of white supremacy as well is very exciting. And I'm having those conversations with my parents, and I'm having those conversations with my friends and my family. And I feel like we're on the verge of our racial healing, at least within our family, within our like culture. So a lot of push and pull, but also kind of exciting to see a lot of people just sort of waking up to other people's realities. So I just wanted to share that and how excited I am for this space.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us too. Thank you. Oh my goodness, the time always goes so short. I want to hear from more of you. I'm happy to stay on a bit. I know we're going to close up with Kim in a few minutes, but I want to share where to find more information real quick. And Maureen, you mentioned the course here. I'm going to start right here. This is the book I wrote when I was 7. Dr. Jen and others have helped me edit it, but basically it was because I get all these questions like, how do I not know about, racism and its effects? Where do I learn? Where do I start? How do I unlearn? I get all those questions all the time. And so I can tell you like Hansel and Gretel, because I've said no to all of that. And so I just broke it up into different sections about our habits. And, oh gosh, it's not going to show me now. And gave us some tools to start with, and then talked about how we can humanize and historicize everything that's come from Equity Institute training in Vincent. And the equity equation, I love that, means yes, all, and all equals always, everywhere, meaning not when it's convenient for you. But I took this book and all these little Hansel and Gretel things, and I made a course out of it. Let's see if I can find it. And I just broke it up into the 9 sections. And what I'm asking folks to do is 4 things: is to journal each day after you've read whatever reflections, and then engage in it. Walk and talk to people about what you are learning and unlearning. And then notice where it lands in the body. That's our somatic healing engagement and learning about when those conversations come up. Where do you feel it? Where is that? Is that tense in the neck? Do you relax? Do you release? Do your sphincter go tight? What's going on? And notice that. And then journal again at the end of the day about those reflections, because that's what you're journaling about, is noticing patterns. So then you can break those patterns, habits. So then you can break those habits, start new ones. So if we're not aware and engaging in it and talking about it, we're not doing anything about it. And so I get frustrated a lot of times when people say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then we get into the performative and the declarative diversity to, I did this. I wrote my senator. I did, these one-offs. I marched. I did, but what are you doing internally? Because when you change everybody around you. And then that's the world. The world is who you're around. And then your sphere of influence, I can just use Aaron as an example. We were in, isolated pockets of Blackness, an hour apart in Washington. And we'd have these conferences and we'd get to see each other for, a few minutes. And then we're out here. And the pandemic brought us together in a way that now our little spheres of influence in our pockets of town are now part of a bigger bridge. And you're here today because of that. The world got bigger. So that's what we're supposed to be doing everywhere, is first do yourself, then your sphere of influence, and then connect with your larger community. And these circles are community care and practicing that. So if you're not, the intent for our Indigenous and African heritage is around circles, is that we should be in circle all the time, every day, about everything, everywhere. That should be our way of being. If our schools operated that way, we wouldn't have the brick and mortar lockdown school regimen that we're experiencing now. School's just a mimic of jail. It's practicing for jail. And so that's not any learning environment. It's disrespectful, dehumanizing, and dishonest. And so when you know the truth about yourself and the truth about others, that's because we relate and encircle with each other. We break all that stuff up and we do it differently. And I dare anybody to tell me to get back in that brick and mortar and do it no. I've never done it that way since I was 7. So and I knew it was wrong back then. And ask any 7 or 8-year-old Black child, they'll tell you, this is wrong. This is hurting me. This is not right. And so why aren't we listening? Okay, well, but this is what we've always done. Well, what you've done is create a place where our humanity doesn't matter. And it was built for that very system. So I don't want to play. And I refuse. So yeah. Anyway, the links. Where is the link? Just go to the Root of Us and you can find everything on my website. Email me, get in my circles, get in my courses, tell everybody about it, and let's be in circle all the time, everywhere, everything. Okay. Thank you so much.
You can find your way back to the conference. If you're confused, I'm just dropping the link down below. And thank you so much for now.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'll hang here while everybody goes to where they're going and ask any questions or get in out of the chat what you need. So thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ready. Thank you, Chris. Gabby, I got you. I already got you. You're in my circle. Maureen, you too. And Margarita, hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate this conversation so much. I think one thing that's really stood out to me is since I was 7, this is the way that I've been. And I think that it's so nice to hear that that process all the time. And I think I get emotional about this topic all the time, but being seen. I know Erin said that all the time, like, I see you. And I really feel that in this space. And I'm more of an active listener sometimes. But I've done that so much in my internal work and the work that I do with others and within my family. So it's nice to not be shot down a lot. It's nice to be heard and understood and be in this space is just really beautiful. So I really appreciate that. It means a lot. It just like this conference, this workshop, I have really learned so much what to do and continuing to do the internal work for myself, for my son, and really taking that to the next step with my healing journey. But as I support others, because I'm a behavioral health specialist, and so I work a lot with youth and young adults, homeless youth and young adults, and I think that's a big part of it when you bring yourself in and show that. It's just been so helpful. So I appreciate it so much. And thank you for this space.
You're so welcome. Where are you calling in from? Where do you live?
I live in Eastern Washington, so Yakima County. So very rural area, very strong Latino population, but very, very conservative. And so you see that red on Eastern Washington very much. And these conversations that need to be had within our community. Yeah. So it's just, yeah.
Well, Vincent and Aaron, they do a lot of work in Eastern Washington. So you're not alone. So stay connected with us. Come to Friday morning at 8:00 is our Equity Institute Circle, kind of our collaborative of the consultants and educators in that space. So we are holding circle for ourselves for healing, so we can keep going out and doing this work. So jump in there every Friday morning. It's on the equity on the sheet that I gave you, or the links that are in there in the chat. Just know that you're not alone, and that get out of that isolation by coming. So this conference was exactly who it was for, is you. So glad you got invited. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.